we have the perfect storm of bad, all things bad in the marketplace. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a little more screen time with Mangoes Not Lemons. Today, we have quite a few topics we actually want to talk about and discuss with you and share a little bit of our wisdom, a little bit of our experience, what we've seen in the market today, and what everybody is seeing and what everyone is experiencing on some level is the political discomfort and what the political impact is in the world of employment. You'll hear this time of year, it's very unique in that Republicans and Democrats, and they all put out these ads that they've done so much to impact the job market and that they're growing. You know, whoever's in power, currently Democrats, they'll put out all these ads to say how much they've improved the market, how strong the marketplace is, how strong the workforce has grown. And they'll always do that regardless of what the numbers are. And then the Republicans will then, or the party that's currently not in power, will say things like, oh no, the jobs are struggling, unemployment's, up everywhere and everyone's laying off. You always hear both sides. When the reality is, right now in today's market, we're pretty much stalled out. So what's happening is the combination of the instability, currently it's a voting year, whether it's a presidential election year. So that already lays instability into the market. The federal rate is higher than it's been in a really long time and adds additional instability into the market. So then when you complicate that with the workplace as a whole, the cost of food, the cost of goods, the cost of housing has all gone up. In addition to a high interest rate, we have the perfect storm of bad, all things bad in the marketplace. And so what that does is that causes everyone to tighten their belt. All the companies, every company almost in every sector will tighten their belt because consumer spending is down. And when consumer spending is down, it impacts everything: groceries, food, gas, the shipping expenses are all up. All of these things correlate to a final picture of a stalemate. Nobody's able to move. No one person really has the control to impact anything. So everyone freezes and we get stuck in what I call a frozen market. And so right now we are absolutely experiencing a frozen market, not a recession. There is a big difference between a frozen market and a recession. Frozen market is there's still money. Things are still happening. Things are still moving, but nothing's great. No one person is really doing really well. And so we're in a frozen market. Everyone's tightening their belt. All these companies across this full spectrum, from finance firms to manufacturing to production to food to medical to law, all of these different industries are all tightening their belts and bracing for this cold kind of frozen market to be able to weather the storm. So when the presidential, elections are done, when the Fed drops the interest rates a little bit, when some of the costs for housing might come down, there's a lot of variables that really can impact this frozen market that we're all experiencing. So ultimately in this frozen market, as you're tightening your belt, what's happening a little bit more now this year, last year, you heard of a lot of layoffs. Layoffs were big. They made headlines. Google laid off, Facebook laid off, X laid off. All these big companies did these massive layoffs. That's changing right now in a frozen market. We're getting smaller layoffs. Companies are hiring in smaller chunks to try to impact overall culture and morale. They're doing it in smaller windows, so it's not as big, not as noticeable, but they're still tightening those belts. So the reason we go into any of this ultimately today is companies don't realize a lot of the times in the chaos of the belt tightening, in the chaos of the reduction in headcount or reduction in advertising spend or marketing or wherever you're tightening that belt, companies forget one of the most impactful areas you can tighten your belt on is vendor spend. Now, when you're slow, when the market is frozen, this is the best time for you to evaluate your vendors. Start looking at the vendors, go with your accounts payable team, find the top 10 vendors that you spend money with and start doing RFPs to go through those vendors and get the best price in the market you can, because vendors are going to compete aggressively in a frozen market. So as we're in this frozen market, all these vendors are desperate for work and desperate for additional growth. Compare your vendors. Specifically, our industry, obviously, we're in human resources. We're in recruiting. And I can't stress enough how important it is if you've had a recruiting vendor, if you've had temporary staffing vendor or a direct hire vendor or a recruitment process outsourcing, an RPO, and it's been in place longer than 3 years, you need an RFP. You need to do a request for proposal. You need to be open to outside vendors sending you bids in today's frozen market and maximize your spend. You will be pleasantly surprised at not only can you save money, but a lot of times you might be able to increase quality, increase the software services you can get, increase the level of engagement with your vendors while decreasing your price. So as we're looking at these kind of smaller batch silent layoffs, Fed rates are staying high. We know the presidential race isn't going to resolve till the end of the year. So we've got months left of us still living and dealing with these changes. And so capitalize on your time. Talk to your HR people, talk to your executives, look at your vendors, put those RFPs out there. When you're slow, there is no better time to compare your vendors than when you have the time to breathe. So tightening belts, obviously, you're going to put multiple hats on. This is when you really sort through the employees that are in it for the long haul and the employees that can't take the heat. So they get out of the kitchen. The pressure just isn't for them. It really helps you as an organization sort through and find those employees that are going to ride this wave. They're going to make it through the storm. They're going to be able to handle the freeze. They're going to be able to handle, all of the analogies we want to throw at it, and ultimately come out stronger on the other side, because companies that can survive frozen markets or really lean times typically can be that much more profitable once the business picks back up again. So take a minute, look to your vendors, look at your staffing. I will happily send you all a quote if you want something to compare it to. Ultimately, the goal is we want companies to be able to survive. We do a lot with manufacturing and production in Utah, in the United States. We want companies like you to survive in our economy. It's a critical level of workforce that we need to be able to provide for. And so ultimately, from a consultation, I want to make sure you guys are doing what's best for your organizations. Look at your top tier talent. Look at your bottom tier talent. Look where the revenue is coming from. Look what positions aren't generating revenue. Obviously, in an organization, you have positions that generate revenue, that directly impact revenue, positions that are a liability to the organization that don't directly impact revenue. In these lean times, the positions that are liabilities that don't directly impact revenue are the ones that need to be looked at and be evaluated to see if you're too heavy. One of the opportunities for most organizations is to reevaluate their human resources team, reevaluate their recruiting team. And one of the things that I stress all the time with organizations is challenge the norm and look at a pay for results model. So a lot of the costs and everything that goes into HR and goes into recruiting is variable. Employing people is a variable cost. And when you deal with an outside vendor like HR Mango, you get what's called a fixed cost for that service or that rate, meaning instead of having soft costs for paying for Indeed, paying for LinkedIn, paying for job boards, paying for an applicant tracking system, paying for the people to sort through all that data, paying for anything and everything related to recruiting, onboarding, new hire employees, sourcing those employees, all of those are soft costs and are very, very difficult to put a full finger on what you're spending. As you deal with companies like HR Mango, you get a fixed cost for all of those services on demand, results driven, So you're paying for results versus paying for control is the best way to look at it. When you hire a bunch of recruiters, when you hire this big HR team, a lot of the times you're paying for control. You're paying for the ability to see them, have them available on call, but still paying full price whether you need them or not. When you do a process called recruitment process outsourcing, where say you've got a talent acquisition manager, but they have no recruiters, all their recruiters are on demand or a recruitment process outsourced, then you have all the benefits of an inside talent person, but all the cost control of an on-demand model. Think outside the box. Look at your models. Look at where you're spending your money. Get into a scenario where you're regularly comparing vendors. You should compare your vendors on average every 2 to 3 years, regardless of the market. If you're not comparing vendors every 2 to 3 years, there's a really good chance you're overpaying. So as we're in the market today, we're in this frozen market. We're all in it. We're all stuck in it. Do your best to capitalize on that, on those dollars. Get the biggest bang for your buck. Look at your vendors, compare them, give opportunities to new relationships. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you might come out like a hero. You might save the company thousands and thousands of dollars and try to make the best of a very tough situation that we're all kind of existing in today. I hope you enjoyed today. A little bit of some wisdom tips for all of you HR people, all of you recruiting people, all of you executives that are out there in the world that might be watching this. Now, when we're frozen, when we're slow, now is the best time to compare your vendors, save your money, cut those pennies. We got to survive this storm so all of us can come out on the other side happy and healthy. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.